Friends, good morning and a very warm welcome to this special event. It's so lovely to see so many friendly faces celebrating this extraordinary milestone. I'd like to formally begin though by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands that we're meeting on, the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples, and pay my deep respects to their elders and to any First Nations people we have in the room here this morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tracey Spicer. I've been a journalist and a feminist since roughly the early Cro-Magnon era. And I was reflecting this morning about when I started out in journalism in Brisbane. It was around the time of the Fitzgerald inquiry, and you could have counted the number of female politicians on one hand. It is remarkable to think about how far we've come and what an important time to celebrate. This event marks, as you know, a decade of the Pathways to Politics for Women program, supporting diverse women to pursue political leadership and create meaningful change within their communities. It's kind of hard to put into words what this program has achieved, so we've created a special video to mark this milestone to give you a sense of the genesis of this extraordinary initiative. Let's take a look. There certainly is so much to celebrate. Women belong in every room where decisions are made. You can read more about this success in the 10 Years of Impact publication, which we're launching today. There are copies there, or you can download one from the website. It's especially fitting, you know, that we're gathered in the space named for Dame Dorothy Margaret Tangney, Australia's first woman senator who joined Dame Enid Lyons in 1943 to become the first Australian woman to enter federal parliament. Now, believe it or not, today is actually the exact day. It is 10 years to the day that Pathways to Politics for Women was launched in this very room, and you saw those images before with, yes, the same day. Extraordinary. By the Honourable Julie Bishop, the Honourable Tanya Plibersek, Professor Glyn Davis AC, and of course the wonderful Carol Schwartz AO. I've experienced firsthand the impact of this wonderful initiative. It's been my great pleasure for many years now to provide media training to multiple cohorts of Pathways participants across the country, and it's just so gut-feeling and uplifting to follow their journeys throughout political life. Huge congratulations to Pathways founder, Carol Schwartz AO, her husband, Alan Schwartz AO, and their children who've made this all possible through the Trawalla Foundation. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Professor Jane Gunn AO, Interim Provost of the University of Melbourne, the founding university partner in the Pathways Network, and also to the many representatives of our 7 university partners who've come from right across Australia to be here with us today. To the parliamentarians and councillors who've joined us, your generous support is nothing short of critical to this program's success, and we thank you. We have a terrific panel of female political leaders who will reflect on their experiences shortly. But now I'm honoured to introduce the founder of this program, Carol Schwartz.
Thank you so much, Tracey, and thank you everyone for attending and welcome to this morning's great celebration. I'd also like to begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people who are the traditional custodians of the Canberra area and offer my respects to their elders and to all First Nations people who are with us here today. I want to recognise the deep and enduring custodianship of country and to particularly honour First Nations female leaders. Now, for decades, I have been driven by a simple belief. When more women lead, everyone benefits. Equal representation strengthens decision-making, deepens collaboration, and ensures leadership truly reflects the people that it serves. At its heart, this is about building a stronger, more resilient democracy. And my proudest example of this, of course, is the founding of Pathways to Politics for Women. In 2013, when only one woman, Julie Bishop, sat around the cabinet table, I woke each day with the same feeling, disbelief and frankly a sense of rising outrage that our premier decision-making forum held such gender imbalance. I felt absolutely determined to do something about it. So, I established Pathways to Politics for Women, the first Australian non-partisan initiative aimed at political gender parity. Through practical training, mentoring and career-long support, we do provide unparalleled expertise for women across the political spectrum who are serious about driving change through political leadership. When we launched the inaugural program in 2016, through a partnership between the Trawalla Foundation, the Women's Leadership Institute Australia and the University of Melbourne, we dreamt it would spark change, and what has followed has exceeded every expectation. The University of Melbourne has been a steadfast and visionary founding partner. To senior university leadership, represented today here by Professor Jane Gunn AO, thank you for your unwavering belief in this mission. I also want to acknowledge our exceptional national co-conveners, Sarah Buckley and Dr Meredith Martin, whose shared leadership has been absolutely crucial and central to Pathways to Politics for Women's growth and national momentum. Today, Pathways to Politics for Women is delivered in partnership with 8 outstanding universities. The University of Melbourne, as I've said, QUT, UNSW, Charles Darwin University, and the Universities of Adelaide, Canberra, Tasmania, and Western Australia. We are deeply grateful to our remarkable colleagues across these institutions, including many in the room today, and thank you so much for coming. Our innovative, place-based and collaborative model underpins the national impact we're now celebrating. And the results truly speak for themselves. More than 750 women now, since that video was made, have completed the program. Our alums have stood for election 247 times and achieved 92 electoral successes. We now have alumni serving at every level of government, including here in Canberra, in the federal government. I also want to recognise the hundreds of political champions who have given their time on state and territory advisory committees, present into the program, mentor participants, and encourage women to step forward. Your commitment has been absolutely invaluable. Thank you. Most importantly, I acknowledge our vibrant alumni community, with many here today. Their leadership offers hope, confidence, and proof of what is possible when women lead equally in public life. After 10 years, we are reshaping the face of politics, yet meaningfully changing how politics is undertaken will not happen overnight. The reality is that we're dealing with political systems and infrastructure that have been built up and reinforced over centuries. Disrupting and adapting these systems will not happen overnight. It will require persistence and a sustained period of gender parity to embed new norms and behaviours. That is why we at Pathways to Politics for Women will keep pushing forward. We know that when women lead equally with men, our democracy flourishes, our communities thrive, and our future is fairer for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol, for those powerful words and your transformative work. We have come an awfully long way, but you're right, we have a way to go as well. I'm now delighted to welcome Interim Provost of the University of Melbourne, Professor Jane Gunn.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much to Carol for her wonderful words just then. I also want to acknowledge the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples on lands that we meet today, traditional custodians of the Canberra area, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and particularly also to First Nations leaders here today. Carol, your contribution to advancing the cause of gender equity across business, media, allocation of capital, and of course politics, it's truly inspirational. The fact that we are all gathered here today and the program that you've established is really inspiring, I'm sure, for so many, and is making a mark and an impact, as we have heard about. The achievements are really transformative, and without your vision, I'm really delighted you had that conversation with the, from the Harvard Square to the Oval Office, and that you brought something similar to Australia, because we're all better off for that. We know that our democracy is a very, very precious thing that we hold, and we know that bringing women into that arena is going to make it more steadfast and something that we all need to step into. So when Carol approached our former University of Melbourne Vice-Chancellor, Professor Glyn Davis, AC, 10 years ago to the day, well, not to the day, the launch was to today, you approached him ahead of that. You were appalled by the underrepresentation of women, as you said, and to think about only one female cabinet member. And you've made such a difference. And I know at the time, I was at the university at the time, and I heard about this thing about the pathways to politics that was going to be established, and it sounded very, very exciting. We know that we know how much attention to detail is paid by the leaders of the program, and that's why we're meeting here on the exact same day in the exact same room. I'm sure that there's a lot of attention to detail. And I want to particularly acknowledge the critical role that Dr Meredith Martin, who's director of the program at the University of Melbourne, and one of the great things about being, and I can't really see Meredith right now, she's hiding, oh there she is hiding. One of the great things about taking over in the provost role, where everyone asks what is a provost, I get to meet Meredith and have her as part of my team, and it was a really exciting part of the portfolio. So together with her fellow convener Sarah Buckley, you've really have built a national movement, and it really delights me that we have 8 universities involved in this program. And the power of partnerships, the power of universities coming together, working together with an inspirational leader such as Carol, and making something happen. It's a fantastic example of how universities working together can make a difference to all sides of politics in public life. And it's a unique collaboration. And it really is one that I'd love to see more of, because we know that the university sector has so much to offer, often doesn't quite know how to really get the impact that it would want to make, and this is a perfect example. So Carol, I thank you along behalf of all the representatives from the universities here. I thank all of you in the national network today, all of the alumni that have come, for your shared commitment, for your passion, for being, and particularly for those who've taken part in the program, for being prepared to step into the national arena, to have a go at all levels of government, because we really do need you there. So we are delighted that we're going to launch this publication today. It's a wonderful read, so you've all got one on your seat, or you can collect it. So please make sure you get one before you leave today. And you will read about the amazing people that have taken part in this program. It does fill me with much pride and hope for the future, because there is a roadmap for change now. It's a lived reality. And soon there will be 100 Pathways alum who are in leadership roles. I think it's 96 now. That's not many to go. So I think there will be a special bottle of champagne or the like for the 100th who makes it. So there's a challenge to those of you recent alumni who are here today. So nurturing your aspiration, bolstering confidence, providing role models and skills. I know that everyone I've met that's part of the program can certainly make an amazing contribution to government, and I wish everyone all the best, and may you go and create those networks and create lasting change. So thank you. It's great to be here today.
Thank you so much, Professor Garn, and especially thank you for the support of the University of Melbourne. All right, it's time to hear from our panel of parliamentarians. So let's welcome them to the stage, and look, it's so special they've all been able to join us here during the last sitting week. Would you please put your hands together first for Member for Indi, Dr Helen Haines. Welcome. Take a seat. Next we have Member for Lindsay, Shadow Minister for Communications and Shadow Minister for Women, Melissa McIntosh. Please also welcome Member for Hotham, Minister for Housing, Minister for Homelessness and Minister for Cities, the Honourable Clare O'Neil. And Senator with the Australian Greens, Steph Hodgins-May. Thank you so much for joining us at the last minute. Clare O'Neil, I'm going to start with you because you've had such a long-standing association with the program, which actually predates the program itself, with the Kennedy Schools from Harvard Square to Oval Office Practicum, upon which this program was based, which Carol mentioned earlier. Why are these non-partisan initiatives so important?
Because they answer a need for us that's got nothing to do with political ideology or your views on policy issues, but everything to do with women and the particular challenges that we face going into public life. It's, I think, very hard for us in every instance to put ourselves in the shoes of others, but particularly hard, I think, for men to understand the impact on the life of a woman when you grow up not seeing women in positions of power where they belong. It is a lifetime of not being able to see yourself reflected in politics, in the law, in corporate life, in non-profits, everywhere you turn. And the impact of that on women psychologically is just so powerful and so profound, especially during those years where you're really building your idea about who you are and what you're capable of. And I think about, you know, myself as a little girl, I probably present as very confident now about my views and the fact that I'm entitled to have an opinion and to exercise the power I have as a citizen. But I didn't start out that way. I was a very shy child, and I was one of those people who I think had good leadership capacity, but I would never have elbowed anyone out of the way to get to that position of being the boss. It wasn't who I was, and it wasn't who I was conditioned to be. But when you're running for public office, you do need to develop a healthy degree of that. It requires women to do something I think is incredibly difficult, and that is say, I'm the one. I am the one that has the answer to these problems, that can negotiate and deliver something and deliver big change for people. And that is just really, really tough thing for women to do. We are not rewarded for that behaviour in our childhood. And so Pathways to Politics is so important for that reason. It gives women this really meaningful opportunity to actually just sit with this idea that maybe they are the one and maybe they do have the power to make a big difference. And I think that's really where its power comes from. I'll just share one just very quick anecdote. I spend a lot of time with young Labor kids in the Labor Party. That's how I came up through the Labor Party. And when I sit down with them, most of the men who I meet, the young men, they have their plan to be Prime Minister all mapped out. They've got it all sorted. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. The women I meet never have that. That's not why they're there. They're there for the reason that I got involved in politics, which is I love my country, I care passionately about it, and I want to make it better. It's not about me or my ambition, it's about trying to make a difference. And so that's just the way the way we come into this. And I do think women need that extra bit of kick and a bit of help to say, I actually want to be a leading participant in this, and Pathways to Politics gives us that chance.
Yeah, that conditioning runs deep, doesn't it? Thanks for articulating that. Melissa, Dr Katie Allen, former member for Higgins, was the first alum to be elected to federal parliament. And only last month, Katie and Senator Jane Hume hosted a Canberra visit for Pathways Liberal alumni. What does it mean to you to see that pipeline of women here in federal parliament?
It's really quite humbling, really, and to see Katie back, even though you guys help get her out. And I'm going to actually agree with Claire. We might not agree when it comes to question time, but around that confidence, and you can see women coming through like Katie, that the program gives you confidence that you may not otherwise had. And thanks to Carol, I'm just going to sort of go off script a little bit. Carol, I was working at the US Studies Centre. We had Iris Bonet come out from America, and Carol just grabbed that concept and just ran with it, and is now changing the world. So the foresight that you had way back then from Harvard is extraordinary, and thank you for what you've given to so many women across this country, like Katie, and we have to continue that. And just on what Claire said, we're not thinking about how we can elbow, our colleagues out of the way to be leader or to even, run for pre-selection, because it genuinely is. I was working in a not-for-profit homelessness organisation when I ran, and it was like the passion for your community and your love for your country, as opposed to, I've been working on this for like 15 years and now's my shot.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Steph, you're here representing the Australian Greens. I know that your leader, Larissa Waters, was involved with the Queensland program. You've been involved with the Victorian Pathways program. Can you say a few words about the crucial role of mentoring, particularly for women in this? I mean, politics is difficult, right? It's a hard environment. How important is mentoring?
Oh, it's tremendously important, but before I begin, just to say thank you so much and congratulations to the organisers. It's wonderful to be on unceded Ngambri Ngunnawal country, and a privilege to be here. And I can see some alumni who have been elected for our party who have gone through this program. Look, for me personally, it was the mentorship of Christine Milne, former Greens leader, who allowed me to see what you can do as a woman in a place that was very patriarchal, and I think still continues to be quite a patriarchal building and institution. And so then similarly Julia Gillard, a lot of excitement and at the idea that, this is a pathway that we can take and can succeed in. And so I think that age-old adage, you can't beat if you can't see it, really does ring very true to me. But I suppose what I've learned through my involvement in this program, I haven't done it myself, but I have been involved in some of the mentoring through that, is that it really is a two-way street. I hope and I'm confident that those mentees that I've worked with have learned something from me in my limited time as a leader in this place. But I've just learned an enormous amount from them. And I think it really is important for us to continue to engage with young people, with diverse people, with people who aren't jaded by politics yet, to keep us fresh and to keep us really with that bigger, wider perspective, because you can really find yourself in a bit of a bubble quite quickly here in this place. But look, my mum was a teacher, and she, whilst passing away 15 years ago, I still get the most extraordinary messages from her former students who, we had to share her as a mother when we were younger. She would take them home, she would stay back late with them after school, teaching them their media and drama kind of monologues before exam time. And I think that really imparted something on me, the fact that they still write to me and say that the enormous impact that she had on their lives. If I can even have a skerrick of that impact on the lives of young people who mightn't have yet have the courage to be involved in these programs, then that would be an enormous and really important legacy to leave. But I think really in particular what I love about this program is that it really demonstrates that we don't have to have cookie cutter leaders that act in that sort of male style of leadership, that we can be empathetic, that we can be flexible, that we can be compassionate and we can be vulnerable. And we really do need so much more of that in our political institutions across this country.
Yeah, more diverse leadership. And I love what you said about we get just as much from our proteges, don't we, as we give to them as mentors. Dr Haines, you have been involved with the program since 2019. You're involved with judging the speeches in Parliament. That must be a wonderful experience. But I'd love you to speak particularly to the extra challenges faced by rural and regional women coming into politics.
Well, thank you, Tracey, and congratulations, Pathways and Carol, for your leadership, and everyone who's got us to the 10-year mark. Tracey, I can tell you straight away, when I was considering running for the seat of Indi, the very first massive fear I had was I had no idea about the media. I'd never, ever stood publicly with a microphone. And I actually went and saw you. And I got in the car and I drove 3 hours to the airport, and I got on a plane and I flew to Adelaide, where you were having a workshop, and I had an incredible experience. And then I got on a plane and came back and drove the other 3 hours home. And I mean, I think about that for rural and regional women, the opportunity for something like Pathways to provide the skills-based training that helps you have the confidence to put your hand up without undertaking such a long journey to go and find that yourself is really significant. So I don't underestimate for a second, in the time that I've had the great privilege of being involved with Pathways, the opportunity to bring people together and provide skills-based training is really essential. I think so many women and rural and regional women often feel that we haven't had that big city experience. We haven't been playing with the big guys. We've been playing in a different paddock, often a pretty bullish paddock, I might say. So the opportunity for rural and regional women to be part of this program is critical from a practical sense, a logistical sense, and that sense of saying, yeah, our life experience in rural, regional and remote Australia is critically important to be in the public square as much as somebody from a big city. So I guess often we have that kind of double jeopardy of being a woman who perhaps, as Claire so well said, have been conditioned from an early age not to be at the front, and also from that regional perspective as well. So I'm super grateful that there's many rural and regional women, and I've been delighted to push a few regional women your way. I think the opportunity to be involved in judging the speeches, let me say, I sit on the speakers panel. I hear a lot of speeches in the Parliament. I've heard a lot of better ones out there in the Pathways program. I really have. And the thing about it is that what a diverse group of people and a group of women bring into a speech-making context. You know, the way that women use their voices, sometimes very firmly, and then tempering it with something very gentle. I think the rhythm and the flow of the spoken word, and then the content of those speeches brings into the subject matter a life experience that we need to have in the federal parliament, in the state parliament, and in local government, and across leadership more broadly. I think that civic duty, civic leadership, is not just in the elected space, and I'm just thrilled that 10 years and so many people coming through this, and I just think that what the potential is, standing right out there now, but right across the country, is really thrilling.
I wonder how much all of your experience of political life has changed since more women have started entering mainstream politics. Melissa, would you like to speak to that first?
I think obviously the more of us that are in here, the better it is. But I've found through the pathway to get to politics, I think sometimes we're our own worst enemies. And I feel because it's been, and I was told this by women as I was coming through, I had it hard, you have to have it hard too. And that's a shame, because you do want to support other women, but it seems like when there's not many of you, you get to leadership and you're like, bloody hell, that was tough. So there is that sort of sense. So the more of us can be in, the friendlier we'll be to each other, and the kinder, and then more understanding. And there's something I really like that happens in the US, which I've spoken to your side a little bit about as well, and it helped prevent the shutdown of the government there. And that's this multi-partisan get-together of women in politics. They get together and they have drinks, they have dinner, they share stories about their families, and that strength in that social connection, holds strong in really tough times, politically tough times. And the blokes seem to do that okay here. They have a way of getting together and, having little groups of meetings, but we don't. We're more, especially when you've got bigger numbers than us right now, but especially when there's less of you, that collegiality is harder to find. So I think there's something in the continuation of getting to leadership, but then continuing on bringing women up, but also being a bit more kinder to each other along the way.
And you're right about that importance of networking as well, and that cultural change. Have both of you noticed that?
The experience is radically changed for Labor women. Not perfect, I would never suggest that. But, when I joined the Labor Party, that was about the time that we introduced affirmative action rules for our party. That was a Labor Party where I think the numbers were just under 20% of federal MPs were women, and where we sit today, we're the first majority female government with half our cabinet as women. And that did not happen easily. It was fought every single state conference and federal and national conference, and women and some very empowering men stood up and said, we have to make a change because we have to reflect the community. And the impact of that on my life as a Member of Parliament and on public policy itself is absolutely profound. So just a few examples for you. Our government, for example, has put women's health right at the centre of our health agenda because we're more than 50% of the population. And every woman in here knows we have a bunch of specific health things that happen to us that just are seen as sometimes sideshow issues somehow. Like, how can that be when we're in the majority? So things like, women's health being in the centre, big focus on paid parental leave and other issues that are important to women. But I don't want to underplay the importance of the cultural impact on our party. Our party is a completely different organisation because women are half of it. And it reflects the way that we do politics. It reflects the nature of the way the caucus solves problems. And it's just very different to how it used to be. And there are lots of people who look at the party now and say that, in previous governments where Labor has, there's been a feeling about ambition and who's going to be the leader and who's going to get this and that sort of sense of the jostling ambition side of politics, which is real and it matters. But it's just come back. Because I do think the women who are here because they care about their country, and that's their main motivation, and it just changes the tone of the work that we do. So it's big and it's powerful and it's important.
So good. We have got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to go to Steph first and then Helen with the final question. What can we do to keep building this critical mass?
Yeah, look, as someone who's only been in for about 18 months, a lot of that work looks like such a more welcoming place over recent time. And I think to touch on what Claire was speaking about, getting to see Larissa Waters breastfeed in Parliament as someone on the outside who is at an age where they're about to have children and thinking, there's no way I can go into Parliament when I'm going to have to breastfeed my child. And she broke that barrier. We've had 2 Greens-led inquiries into women's health. Perimenopause and menopause, I don't think it had ever been said on the Hansard before. And now we've had inquiries into those things. And so there is a cultural shift happening. The Jenkins Review, I think, is really noteworthy as well. Brave women coming forward and sharing their stories and helping lead us towards a pathway where there is more accountability. But it's certainly, there's a lot of work to be done. We can't be complacent. And I know that I will take it on personally, and I think with these wonderful women, to ensure that we make this a more welcoming culture for women and gender diverse and culturally diverse people.
Someone who just had a hot flush in the toilet before this event.
More menopause talk.
Thank you for your work. Helen, what can we do?
Well, I can say that we have to invite women in. I've got 2 women here in this room right now who are volunteers from my community. Put your hands up over there. 2 women who've come up from the electorate. We do this every single sitting day. I have volunteers from the electorate, and then they're predominantly women who come up and see what the job is all about. So I think we can invite people in lots of spaces. We've touched on healthcare. This program is called Pathways to Politics. It's not called Pathway. And I think that really emphasising to women that there isn't one way in. I'm an independent. I worked in healthcare for 30 odd years before I came here. One of the things I've loved is working with women in the Parliament. I've had the great privilege of working closely with Jed Carney. And Jed and I really leaned into our nursing background. I was really pleased to work with Jed on ways that we can improve midwifery services to women, particularly caseload midwifery, home birth, and choices for women out in the community. So I think it's about us inviting women in. It's about us telling the stories of what it's like to work with other women in the Parliament. And then it's about really showing that to the Australian public. So being, I think, really clear in our communications, Tracey. Spice Girls, showing that we're a pack of Spice Girls, right? Like
exactly.
There's all different types of women that are in the Parliament. And yes, so anyone who's in the room right now who hasn't thought about stepping into public life, think about it. Please do that.
Thank you all so much. What a perfect quote to end on. You are also courageous. Thank you for your work, and thank you for being so generous with your time this morning. I know how busy you are last sitting week. How about another round of applause for our phenomenal panel? Well, that ends our formalities for this event, but thank you all so much for coming. Just the sheer turnout and the energy in the room shows that together we will continue to move forward, onward and upward. Please stay and enjoy a bit more breakfast, have a coffee, chat, network. That's what it's all about. And thank you so much for coming. And thank you again, Carol.